than summer weather, isn't it? It's too cold and then you're complaining that it's too hot in the sun. That's just how it works. So my name is Michael Selbst and I am president of the board of Hamilton Hall. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Today we are enjoying the unveiling of the commemorative marker marking the remarkable Remond family. In 1798, 19-year-old John Remond sailed from Curacao to Boston. In 1805, he started as a caretaker at Hamilton Hall, which was the newly built Federal's Hall in Salem. In 1807, he married Baker Nancy Lennox, and they had a family, and by 1824, the Remonds were both living in and working out of Hamilton Hall along with their 10 children. From here, they managed a growing empire of local businesses and became Salem's preeminent caterers. We have them to thank for shepherding Hamilton Hall through its first 50 years of existence with great care and expertise. Despite the challenges of being African Americans living in Salem in the early 19th century, John and Nancy Remond instilled in their children a strong sense of dignity, self-respect, and agency, and the desire to control their destinies and do right for those who lacked a voice. 3 of their children, Charles Remond Lennox, Sarah Parker Remond, and Caroline Remond Putnam, grew to become prominent voices in the fight for abolition and suffrage. As a Salemite and member of the Hamilton Hall community, the Remonds are often on my mind. This was particularly true when I joined Remond cousin Adelaide Solomon Jordan, who we have the great pleasure of having with us this afternoon, and other members of the Salem community at the Tabernacle Church a few weeks ago. The host of the event, the Salem Athenaeum, had invited us to read aloud portions of Frederick Douglass's famous 4th of July speech. Hearing the diverse voices of many people reading his powerful words, it was really quite overwhelming. And it emphasized to me the importance of honoring activists, especially those who have not been given their due. Perfect timing there, huh? So I'm proud at Hamilton Hall that we are able to showcase the importance of the truly remarkable Remond family. Their work has left a lasting mark on Salem and the greater community, as well as on the hall itself. Thank you for joining us in celebrating their lasting legacy. If you would like to learn more about the Remond family fight for equality, I invite you to attend a lecture this Sunday at 2 o'clock, presented by Professor Gwendolyn Roseman. Her talk, Are We Not Your Sisters? Salem's Remond family and African Americans in the suffrage movement promises to be both educational and very enlightening. I'd like to recognize a few elected officials. City Councilors Jeff Cohen, Alice Merkel, and Domingo Dominguez. And we'll recognize, I'm sorry, I missed you, my apologies. And then, Eddie Marcella, and then also the other elected officials who will be speaking, we'll recognize them as they come up. One special comment, we so enjoyed getting to know Freddie Kay and Michelle Juralowitz of Suffrage MA 100. What a delightful experience getting to know you both. Thank you, thank you. With that, I will introduce Freddie Kay, founder and president of Suffrage MA 100.
Thank you so much, Michael. And welcome everybody. It's so great to be here to see all of you today. Thank you so much for coming. We have so enjoyed Suffrage 100 Massachusetts partnering with Michael, with Donna Fritz. Where's Donna? We want to give a big round of applause to Donna and Kate. So much to make this happen today. Also, Mayor Driscoll in the mayor's office, who we spoke with way back when. Sarah Cahill is right here. Thank you, Sarah. Patty Kelleher, and many more. It took a lot of people. It took a village to put this together, and so we're very appreciative of all the people who worked so hard to make it possible. I want to thank all of our wonderful speakers today. We are honored by your presence and your participation. Mayor Kim Driscoll, thank you for being here. Representative Paul Tucker, Caroline Friedman of U.S. Senator Warren's office, but Senator Lovely surprised us, and we're so happy that you could join us today. Thank you very, very much. Caroline Friedman is here from the U.S. Senator Warren's office, and Lisa McClure of U.S. Senator Markey's office Joanna Wakeland, of Senator Lovely's office, in spirit with us, and Adelaide Salmon Jordan, cousin of the Remond family. Where's Adelaide over here? Nice to see you, Adelaide. Thank you so much for coming. And we are so happy that her son is with us today also, Ross Stanton Jordan, who is with us here today as well. Thank you, Ross, for coming from Chicago. I want to give a shout out to Suffrage 100 Massachusetts colleagues, Michelle Jarolowitz, program coordinator, who's been very involved with this project, Pat O'Halloran and Cherise Thompson, who are here with us today and helped make this event possible. Thank you to them. And all of those I just mentioned, plus Hamilton Hall volunteers are wearing, Suffrage 100 MA are wearing Votes for Women sashes. And I want to just thank everybody for all the work that went into making this happen. So thank you to everybody. Here in Salem, we are standing on the indigenous land of the Pawtucket, Massachusetts, and Namkek peoples who have stewarded this land for hundreds of years. I invite us all to contemplate how better to support the indigenous community, how to honor and care for the land that each of us inhabits. Where did this Remond family marker come from? How did this all happen? Suffrage 100 Massachusetts is a statewide nonprofit, and I'll just take a minute to talk about that and how that relates to this project. We are a nonprofit that highlights the largely unknown national and Massachusetts history, or herstory, you might say, of the women's suffrage movement and women's rights. A main goal of Suffrage 100 Massachusetts is to commemorate and tell the story of the remarkable achievement of the suffragists, including the tireless work and essential contributions of women and men of color who were often excluded by white women's suffrage organizations and whose role in the suffrage movement has been largely overlooked. Suffrage 100 MA is pleased to participate as the Massachusetts coordinator with the National Votes for Women Trail. And that is a part of the National Collaborative of Women's History Sites. It has two components. The trail has two components: a digital database with over 2,000 sites, including many from Massachusetts, that's online. And now, due to a generous donation from the Pomeroy Foundation, they have donated 200 markers across the country, and Massachusetts is getting 5, and they are donated to us. So we recently enjoyed unveiling a marker for Ann Page in Danvers, Massachusetts. We have with us Ursula and Dave McKenna, who are here. That was just unveiled last week, and we're so glad they're here. So this is the second marker of 5 in Massachusetts. The Pomeroy Foundation generously donated these 5 markers, and they told us about it at the National Votes for Women Trail. I contacted Mayor Driscoll's office, and Mayor Driscoll was one of our speakers at the Faneuil Hall when we had the 100th anniversary of Massachusetts becoming the 8th state, as my sash says, the 8th state to ratify the 19th Amendment. Tons of history there. Go on our website, if you will, Suffrage 100 MA. There is so much history to learn about the ups and downs of getting the vote for women in Massachusetts. It was not easy, and it took until the 19th Amendment. So I spoke with Sarah Cahill, Patty Kelleher, more joined the conversation, including historian and Hamilton Hall neighbor Donna Seeger, who offered historical background. Many thanks to Donna. It became clear that the Remond family as a whole should be honored, and that Hamilton Hall was the perfect location for this marker. The application process with the Pomeroy Foundation was rigorous. There were a lot of steps that had to go through. Michael is chuckling over here because he remembers we needed to submit primary source materials. They do not approve these markers without absolute certainty that this is the right place, the right family, the right people, etc., who fit the criteria for having worked in the suffrage movement, etc. So I think we all learned a lot through that wonderful process, which was always great. So many suffragists, both white and of color from the 1800s were first abolitionists, and many also recognized the need to expand women's rights and women's suffrage. While many white suffragists came to focus exclusively on suffrage, on women and earning the vote for women, African Americans did not have that luxury. African Americans fought for both abolition and for women's and men's suffrage. The Remond family exemplifies that tenacity to fight for equality for African Americans and for women. Thank you very much to each and every one of you who assisted with the application process and with all the preparations for today, including those who installed the marker. Today is the culmination of several years of hard work by many people, and all of whom had the tenacity and hope that we would be here today and that this would happen. So we're thrilled that we are here, and Mayor Driscoll and all of those who participated in this long process, we thank you so very much that we could be here today to do this. The Remond, thank you. The Remond family marker is the second, as I mentioned, of 5 that the Pomeroy Foundation is donating to Massachusetts. They are listed in your program, and the others are, as I mentioned, the Ann L. Page marker at the Danvers Historical Society. Mariah Baldwin is coming up in Cambridge, Sojourner Truth in Northampton, and Sarah Wall in Florence. And we'll have all that available for you to learn about. We have sign-up sheets. If you want to hear about these, please sign up with your email address. You'll get notification of that. And you can check our social media for Suffrage 100 MA. Each of these unveilings are free and open to the public, so come join us. And we will be announcing them in social media and by email. We thank the Pomeroy Foundation for providing the grant to fund this National Women's Suffrage Marker, and to the National Collaborative for Women's History Sites for sponsoring the National Votes for Women Trail. The right to vote is a fundamental right that cannot be taken for granted and must be protected for all citizens. May we all appreciate, value, and exercise our right to vote. Thank you so much, and congratulations to Hamilton Hall.
I'd like to introduce Mayor Kim Driscoll.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Freddie, for digging in and making sure we had the opportunity to work with Hamilton Hall to make this day possible. I feel so privileged and honored to be the mayor of Salem. What an amazing and rich legacy and history we have in so many ways. It's an embarrassment of riches. As the first woman mayor of Salem, as the daughter of an immigrant from Trinidad, which is about an hour flight from Curacao, I feel a special connection to what's happening here today. The opportunity as a city and a city leader to make sure all aspects of our history are told, and that others who are visiting our city, now we're close to being the 3rd most visited destination in Massachusetts. We have a lot of people who come to Salem. They don't necessarily know all parts of our history. So today, markers that are being unveiled and opportunities to tell the story really, really matter, not just for those of us who are fortunate enough to live here, fortunate enough to lead this community, but the many visitors that will be coming to Salem to learn more about what our history meant not only to the Commonwealth, but frankly to the country. The Remonds were well respected throughout Salem. Those of us who live here know that. We were so pleased to welcome the Remond family to the opening of the Remond Family Park off of Bridge Street and begin to ensure these important people who were left out of history books often were remembered and that we were able to tell those stories. They were well known for their hospitality, their business acumen, their social activism. The reason that we had our schools desegregated had to do with the Remond family, who had the forewithal to take our city to court and win and prevail and ensure that all children had an equal opportunity for education. These aren't the stories that we always hear about, but certainly Charles and Sarah became prominent leaders in so many movements, from abolition and certainly to suffrage and suffrage rights. So it's certainly my privilege to be here today to represent our city along with our city councilors and partners, and frankly our entire community, to recognize the crucial impact that the Remonds had, and frankly that members of our Black community had, dating back to our founding in 1626. Enslaved persons, free citizens, soldiers, abolitionists, suffragists, educators, and leaders. The Remond Family Marker is going to give us an opportunity to make sure we have a landmark that's highlighting that part of our history that is often not told, and frankly, history that many of us did not learn in the history books when we were in school. These are heroes. We have an opportunity to celebrate historic places, and now we have an opportunity to make sure those stories are told. So I'm proud to be here, thrilled for this opportunity, and grateful for all those who made it possible and put this together. Hooray for celebrations like this. Maybe we have more of them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Driscoll. I'd like to introduce Representative Paul Tucker.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope it's not lost on anyone the history of where we're standing right here, right now, and what a privilege it is to stand on these steps. As Freddie said, this was the land of the Nomcake people, our indigenous Native Americans that were here first. When I think about history, sometimes we play a little bit of an exercise, and you try to think back of a person in history that maybe you'd like to go back in time to meet. I think about Sarah Remond, how she had the courage and the strength at age 16 years old, a woman of color in Salem, at 16 years old, to talk about the issues that we still talk about today, race and gender equity. I'd love to hear from her what her thoughts were, what drove her to talk about these things, to make sure that she fought the good fight. I'd also like to talk to Sarah Remond in 2022 to see what she thinks about the struggles we have today with women's health, women's reproductive health, voter suppression, the same issues from 182 years ago. I'd love to get her take on that as well. So much history has happened at this Hamilton Hall, and I think that 50 years and 100 years from now, people will be talking about this day today where this marker was dedicated. I'm proud to be a part of it, and all of you should actually take a bow too. This is important. When we put a spotlight on things, the issues of the day, we look back and it can be very instructive for us to see the people that had to fight to get us to where we are and what we need to do going forward. Thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Representative Tucker. I would now like to introduce Caroline Friedman on behalf of Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Hello, everyone. I wish Senator Warren could be here with us today, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to pass along her message. Thank you to Suffrage 100 Mass for bringing us together and for everyone gathered here for your tireless advocacy. Today, our community in Salem gathers to unveil the historic women's suffrage marker honoring the Remond family for their groundbreaking contributions in the fight for racial and gender justice. The Remond family did extraordinary work to fight for the abolition of slavery, the women's suffrage movement, and the desegregation of schools in Salem. The Remonds understood what too few people did at the time, that the struggles of marginalized people are intertwined. Their brave fight for abolition and equal voting access inspires us to continue to follow their lead. With our country's voting rights under siege, we must continue to fight for justice in our election system. And you can count on the Senator as a partner in the United States Senate to do just that. Voting is the beating heart of our democracy. We must do everything to protect this right. Senator Warren is in this fight with us all the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Caroline. I'd like to now introduce Lisa McClure on behalf of Senator Edward Markey.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say hello and thank you so much for having us today for this important event. Senator Markey couldn't be here, but I feel very fortunate to be here in his stead. I just wanted to share some remarks that he prepared for today. John and Nancy Remond raised their children here in Hamilton Hall. It was here that their son Charles and their daughter Sarah came to be champions of abolition and women's suffrage. As adults, the two campaigned across the continent, urging for greater freedoms for women and all those who suffered the violence of the sin that is slavery. Today, I honor the Remond family for their enduring commitment to the cause of justice in Salem and across oceans. This marker, one of 5 placed on the National Votes for Women Trail here in our Commonwealth, will forever memorialize their achievement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. I'd now like to introduce State Senator Joan Lovely.
Thank you. What an amazingly historic afternoon. And it's so wonderful to see all of you here to participate as we honor the Remonds with this marker right here at Hamilton Hall, where they spent much of their life giving back to Salem. I want to give a special thank you to Suffrage 100, Freddie, Michelle, your entire team, for everything that you've done to coordinate this event in the history of Massachusetts women and people of color that remain at the forefront of current and future discussions. Our Commonwealth and our nation would not be what they are today without the contributions of individuals like the Remonds. John and Nancy Remond led the change for social advocacy and anti-slavery while our country was still in its infancy. Their children followed in their footsteps, expanding on their legacy of social activism. Charles Remond, the eldest son, was a prominent abolitionist, lecturer, and supporter of the suffrage movement. And daughter Sarah was a distinguished member of the Salem Female Anti-Slavery Society, the New England Anti-Slavery Society, and the Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society, and spoke at the 1858 National Women's Rights Convention in New York. Their history is our history, which we must continue to advance forward. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously said, "No one is free until we are all free." Though the Remond family existed long before those words were ever uttered, they lived that truth each day. Champions of equal rights for both women and people of color, they understood the importance of ensuring that everyone had access to the same opportunities and freedoms. During their lifetime, they saw the adoption of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, and with their aid, our nation saw the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920. The Remond's indelible impact can still be felt today. They helped propel our society into a more just and equitable state, and though much still needs to be done to achieve true equity, we are prepared to continue to fight toward that goal, and we want to thank them for their legacy and example. At this time, I'd like Representative Tucker to come up. We'd like to present citations to Hamilton Hall and Suffrage 100. And if I could read mine, and then Representative Tucker will hand it to you. Commonwealth of Massachusetts State Senate official citation. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Hamilton Hall and Suffrage 100 Mass. In recognition of establishing a marker on the National Votes for Women's Trail in honor of the Remond family and their contributions to the women's suffrage movement. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success, with this citation be duly signed by the President, the Senate, and attested to, and a copy thereof transmitted by the clerk. It is signed by our President Karen Spilker and offered by me, your state senator. Congratulations and thank you.
And on behalf of the House of Representatives, I offer a citation as well to Hamilton Hall and the Suffrage 100 Mass for establishing this marker in the National Votes for Women Trail and the Remond family's historic legacy and contributions to the women's suffrage movement, transmitted by the House of Representatives to stay here at Hamilton Hall as well. So thank you.
Wow, thank you. Fantastic. So I'd like to introduce historian and Remond cousin, Adelaide Solomon Jordan.
I don't necessarily need this, but I appreciate it. I want to begin with a heartfelt thank you to the Suffrage 100 MA the National Votes for Women Trail in Massachusetts, for the recognition and honoring of our family. I also want to take this opportunity to thank Hamilton Hall for their ongoing recognition of our family. As an historian focused on early African American New England history, the story of the Remonds of Hamilton Hall is certainly for me an intriguing one. More recently, I have had to address how does one feel when the discovery is made that this is family. At first, I was astounded. Looking back over the courage, strength, tenacity, but most of all, the family pride shared by our Remond family members, I can only be proud, almost beyond belief, of this connection. That my Remond cousin, George Ford, is an honorary board member of Hamilton Hall only raises the pride I feel in representing the family here today. The assignment for me today was to speak about what this family connection and marker recognition means to me. Over the several years since this discovery, I have immersed myself in how our family did not let one aspect of family or community life exist without their committed involvement, especially with regard to abolition and the right of women to vote. I can only imagine the discussions the women of the family had as they worked towards suffrage. Would I have been able to be an assertive member of this group? Would I have been able to challenge being told as a woman, specifically as a black woman in this family, that I could not vote, indeed had no right to vote? Voting, the most sacred of our roles as citizens of this country, my country. I am not sure I would have been able, except that, yes, I know I would have. How could I not be successful with this as my heritage? I proudly claim this family heritage and with pride accept my kinship to the Remonds of Hamilton Hall. I can feel the huddled together family success as they sit down to shared family meals together. I can feel the pride in the success of businesses, of family businesses, and yes, most of all, I can feel the support and determination as they work toward the vote for women, including the women of our family. With this family connection, I also claim a heritage in the grounding of an African American presence in the history of our country. I take pride in knowing the history of my family and the role they played toward obtaining the vote for women. That knowledge is a marker, just as we install a tangible marker to let the world know my family is among those who work diligently toward ensuring the vote for all women, including the women of the Remond family. Thank you.
Yep. So I invite all of you to join us on the side of the building. Oh, wait. Oh, one more proclamation. Excuse me, I forgot.
No, just a little bit more. Sorry. I want to thank Adelaide. Thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking. It means so much that we have here family members who are connected to this house and to all that they did. Thank you so much. I want to thank Ross Stanton Jordan, who's also here from Chicago. And Adelaide's here from Maine, am I right?
Yeah.
So we so appreciate their traveling to be here with us today for this very, very important moment. And now we have come to the moment of the unveiling. And to figure this out, what we want to share is that the marker is around the corner. So we're going to ask everybody to come around the corner for the unveiling. The speakers, we're going to be able to go through the hall. And before anybody leaves, we want to be taking pictures at the marker once we unveil. So we'll wait, and Adelaide and Michael and Ross are going to do the honors of unveiling the marker. And then after that, there's a reception inside, so we'll invite everybody to come inside for some light refreshments and for some information and to see the wonderful hall. I think that's it. So we'll see you at the marker. Thank you so much.